joined us. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and it's time for our second big story. Importation of cars to be or not to be through the land borders. Ban on it. Okay, so importation of vehicles into Nigeria through the land borders has been banned.
Now, that's according to a directive by the federal government of Nigeria, and so all vehicle imports have been restricted to the seaports. Now, the prohibition order, which takes effect from January the 1st, 2017, covers all new and used vehicles.
As a result, importers of vehicles through the land borders have until December 31st, which is barely about 3 weeks from now, 2016, to clear their vehicle imports landed in neighboring ports.
Okay, so joining us, oh, look at that sea of vehicles right behind us there. Okay, joining us now is a car dealer, Adeboale Oladunjoye, and from our studio in Abuja, we have the Public Relations Officer, Nigeria Customs Service, Wale Adeni. Good morning to you, gentlemen. Maybe we should start with you here, Oladunjoye. You are a car dealer and a clearing agent. How does this news come to you? How do you think you'll be affected?
Well, morning once again. Let me tell you, it's like a shock to the car dealers, honestly, I have to be sincere with you. However, it's a government policy. It is what it is. We just have to readjust and see what's going to happen. But I have to tell you, our port right here, our Lagos ports, the basic reason why importers started using the neighboring ports is basically because our ports are not competitive. Our ports right here are not competitive, the tariffs are so high. I mean, as an importer, why do I have to go to a neighboring country and route it through, I'm bringing it to Nigeria, I have to route it through another country?
In spite of the risks involved?
In spite of the risks involved. So it's basically because our ports are not just competitive, the tariffs are so high.
But the tariff being high, you're talking about the 70% on new cars and 35% on used cars?
It's exactly, 70% on, I mean, let me give an example. If let me say you got a car for like 10 million, you're going to be paying close to like 7 million and above for duties. I mean, that's way too high. So what we're telling the government now is this, come, what are the neighboring countries doing for them to make their ports attractive for our importers? You can do it. You can replicate the same thing right here in Nigeria and let importers start using our ports. Okay. Shutting the doors is not the solution. That's not the only solution.
Well, you're a player in that industry and would like to know from you exactly what you think the neighboring countries are doing correctly that's making them more attractive. But let's bring in Wale Adeni, Customs PRO here. Well, Mr. Adeni, come to think of it, when you recall the ban on importation of rice from the land borders, it looks like there was a spike in the importation of the same banned products from the land borders across not just the Lagos border, but across other borders. And what is responsible for this? Because some customs have been accused of collusion or colluding with these smugglers. What will the situation be with this ban on vehicles that's to take off 1st of January?
Thank you very much. Good morning, listeners and watchers. I think the issue of the policy goes beyond collusion. Of course, collusion is very important. If there is collusion, there will be corruption in the process, and nobody wants that. This is what we've been trying to fight in customs and in every other spheres of human endeavors in Nigeria. The policy is about keeping what is Nigerian in Nigeria. We have facilities to handle vehicle imports into Nigeria. We have massive investments that have been put into port development, not just by federal government, but also by private entities in Nigeria who have been encouraged, to try to replicate what we see in the neighboring ports in Nigeria. And we are on the course of doing that. The terminal operators are settling in. New ports are being developed around Lagos, in Badagry, in Lekki. So we will not take the maximum benefit of this if we abandon it in preference for neighboring ports. This is the position of federal government, and this is what informs the policy that we must patronize Nigerian ports. If there are collusions, anywhere at the borders, at the seaports, of course, the most important thing is for us to determine who did what along the chain, not just with customs officers, customs agents, customs importers, terminal operators, shipping agents. It's a complete chain. So the most important thing is for us to strengthen the machinery that we have to identify those bad guys and deal with them.
Okay. What about the time? Is it not so sudden? How, between now and 31st of December, how visible do you think it is for car dealers to clear their cars with this recession going on in Nigeria?
One of the reasons that people who patronize Cotonou would bandy around is the fact that it is faster to clear vehicles during the border. They tell you things like you could go there today and drive your car back in the evening and all of that. So we expect that they will take maximum advantage of the next 15 days, in the year to clear. It doesn't take time to clear according to them. So I am sure that they would, whoever has a vehicle there will bring it in.
Adibawale.
All right,
But then,
you were just shaking your head.
let's also look at another aspect of this.
Okay.
These vehicles are not manufactured in Benin or any of our neighboring ports. They are manufactured from outside of West Africa. They only land them in Benin on transit. So if the policy catches up with a vehicle there, you could as well put it in another ship and bring it to Nigeria. The policy as it is that from 1st of January, no vehicle will come in through the land borders.
Of course, we do understand that, but you were shaking your head when he said, you guys bring in these vehicles as quickly as possible anyway, so there shouldn't be any problem. Is the time or the grace period too short, or is it something you can actually handle?
The truth of the matter is this: the grace period is very, very, very short. We have to be sincere. This is the government that came in the platform of popularity and change. Do you understand? We cannot afford to be doing things the same old ways. Come on, if you know the logistic of bringing cars from abroad down to any of the neighboring country or our border, you know that it's not something that sometimes it could take more than a month or 2 months. There are some cars that have left all this country abroad. Maybe at the end of November, they might probably get to this country, or this neighboring country, till maybe the middle of January or end of January. So what do you want them to do? You want them to put them back into the vessel and bring them to Nigeria?
That's what he just said.
And that's tedious. I mean, we have to be reasonable. This is in this recession time. So by the time the car now gets to Nigeria, how much do you want to sell it? What's the turnover I mean? It's not just realistic. We have to be sincere.
Well, let's look
the
at
grace
it
period
this
is
way.
so short.
Under the last administration of Goodluck Jonathan, when this new tariff of 70% came about, the idea was to encourage locally manufactured vehicles and all of that. Would you say that move has worked so far? I mean, we've been talking about Innocent and a few other vehicle manufacturers in Nigeria. Pan, for example.
Let's sample it. Let's look at the government fleet of cars. How many of those cars do they have in their fleets? Do you understand? How many? Look at our lots. Look at our car lots. How many of those cars do you have there that they are selling? You have to be sincere. How many of those plants are working? Some of them are assembled right here in Nigeria. How many of them do we have that are really? How many of them can stand this test of time? Fine, they are new cars, glorified new cars, but I mean, can they really? Are they that durable? You have to be sincere.
Yeah, but if you encourage Nigerians to patronize these vehicles, they might just improve over time.
Well, we're talking about the price. I'm talking about we have to be sincere. The price and the durability. It's very easy. Flood the market with those cars. Let Nigerians pick. Let them have options. You can't just box them to the corner and say that, okay, you have to buy this particular kind of car.
Okay, Wale, let's look at the cascading effect of this policy. To an ordinary Nigerian, perhaps you begin to pay more for transport fare. That's a possibility, really. You're not bothered about that.
I'm not too sure how this affects transport fare, or the policy addresses point of entry of imported vehicles into Nigeria. There hasn't been any change in tariff. The tariff that we've operated on imported vehicles in the last 3-4 years is still the same, and you have mentioned it for new cars and for old second-hand vehicles. The tariff is still the same. What has changed is the point of entry. And that actually has a number of other multiplier effects. And I'll tell you one of them. What it means is that the revenue, the tax on imported vehicles now stays in Nigeria. We wouldn't have to start changing our money because we want to patronize other ports, pay other administrative charges and all of that. So what we are trying to do with this policy, what government tries to achieve in this policy, is that revenue for Nigeria will stay in Nigeria for development of infrastructure in Nigeria. I think this is as simple as it is. So, you know, the flip side of this is that if we get this right, and I'm very, very optimistic that we'll get it right, it will translate into increased revenue that can help governments into fixing infrastructures like roads, possibly mass transportation and all of that. So at the end of the day, the masses would benefit.
All right, Mr. Wale Adeni, just hold on. And of course, Oladunjoye, we'll take a very short break. And when we return, we'll talk more on this. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. You're watching TVC Breakfast, and we're looking at the ban on vehicles importation through Nigeria's land borders to take effect from the 1st of January. We have Debo Oladunjoye, car dealer and a clearing agent, who, of course, is directly affected by this. And Wale Adeni is a customs spokesman. He's in our Abuja studio. Now, this question to you, Debo. Now, the role of some of the ECOWAS treaties that seem to encourage free movement across the borders, is there a need for us to really look at that very seriously? I wonder what your view would be, about this.
Definitely, Nigeria is a signatory to the ECOWAS treaty. So by banning all this, by this banning, recent banning, we found out that we are going against the treaty, and it's not really fair to these neighboring countries. Some of them survive on our patronage. So we banning. Take a look at the.
At Nigeria's expense?
Well, we are neighboring countries. We also we don't go there we don't import from there alone. We also export. You have to look at that also. Nigeria exports a lot of things to those neighboring countries, especially agricultural products. So you just want to ban your borders to your neighbors, just like that. Look at the ban on rice and the rest. This is why I still find that. So what the government is doing basically is encouraging high level of smuggling. Because you find out most of all these banned products, in a way, still find their way into, still find Turkey and the rest inside your port. How did they get here? So you keep wondering, is like Yorubas will say, we'll be back on your going before.
All right.
Okay.
We'll come back to that.
Translate that when we come back.
All right. So
Okay, we still have our guests in the studio, and we're looking at the ban on vehicles come January 1. Busalami.
indeed. Let's go to our Abuja studio right now. Wale is there for us. That's the PRO for Nigerian Customs. Our guest in the studio made mention that it's not just about the money. It's the ease of doing business at the Nigerian port is not really there. Your take on that, please.
Yeah, I think it's good to take it from the perspective of Oribibe call you Ogu before. Translated literally, you don't cut off your head as a response to the problem of headache. In relation to what we have in the borders, we have tried to apply pain relievers. That's what should come to mind first, top of the brain. we've tried to, apply analgesics. We have tried to apply so many other, relief. But it will appear that the headache is a pointer to some other problems. And this is why we needed a review of our approach to solving the problem in Sebe border and all other borders particularly. It's about trade facilitation. What our guest is talking about speaks to the issue of trade facilitation. So customs is not opposed, federal government is not opposed to trading across the borders. Nigeria is a very big promoter of ECOWAS, and Nigeria contributes almost 60% in terms of volume of the ETLS. Our guest has admitted it. But we want to promote legitimate business. It has to be legitimate across the borders for it to make sense. It has to be legitimate for both parties, the Nigerian parties and the ECOWAS parties, to take maximum advantage. Trade creates wealth. It should not create illegal wealth for some people, for some group of people who go behind to circumvent the laws. So we've tried to engage these people, the importers, the agents. It has not worked. We have tried to engage the custom authorities in our neighboring countries. We've reached a number of agreements with them for us to implement the transit trade between us according to international transit protocols. This has also not worked. So every responsible government, every responsible country has the right to take policies in their best economic and political interests. I think this is what we have done with this increase. So we are going to facilitate trade in our ports. We are going to make our ports more user-friendly. We will review the operations. We will make the processes more transparent.
Hey, is it not better to do that before the ban? Wale, is it not better to do that before the ban? Couldn't you have done all these lofty ideas you're just telling us about? Couldn't you have done it before the ban?
Trade facilitation is an ongoing process. Trade facilitation is an ongoing process. You don't draw a line and say, we have facilitated trade. So if you talk about ease of doing business, we would have to look at the whole gamut of the process. The access road, the light situation, the security situation, terminal operator, the charges, handling equipment, and all of that. So I won't sit down here and tell you that we have crossed that line. And we will not cross that line in one day. It's a process. So what we need to do is our citizens to begin to hold all the agencies that are responsible to providing this responsible. We must hold government responsible to provide good access road. We must hold customs responsible to provide transparent services. We must hold customs agents and importers responsible for compliance, for honest declarations. Terminal operators must provide handling equipment. Most importantly, importers must come with honest declarations. You don't go to Benin and declare Toyota Venza as Toyota Corolla. So why would you want to do it in Nigeria? Because you want to cut corners.
All right.
So these are the issues. So it's not something that we do one day and then we say we are done.
All right. We do understand that, Wale Adeni. Let's take this. Nigerians are reacting to federal government's ban on the importation of cars through the land borders. Let's hear what they have to say.
We, the agents, are generating through the Nigerian customs to the federal government of Nigeria when those things were in place. But now, the ban rise, they have come up with cars. Then what do they expect us to do?
In a time like this where the government is advocating for economic reformations, and we are going to lose revenues again from after the oil, it is custom revenues that increase the cost of the federal government. And then we're going to lose about 50-70% from one command only. It's a disaster.
The prices of vehicles are going to go up, and definitely the masses are going to suffer for it. So it has tripling effects.
Everybody's engaged as long as this business is concerned. So it is not ideal.
When they promulgate law, they don't have anything to make better for the people. They just promulgate law to stop people from their business. And there is no better thing they are provided for the people.
To me, it's not acceptable by now.
Okay, and that's a question. When is it ever acceptable, you know, by Nigerians? It's been said that about 80% of cargo traffic is lost by this diversion to neighboring countries in bringing in vehicles of any kind. With this kind of loss of revenue for Nigeria, is it really worth it at the end of the day? Nigeria is in a recession, and it is understandable that government needs to find different sources of or ways of actually, you know, closing those loopholes that make Nigeria lose so much. Don't you think, in the long run, Nigeria stands to benefit?
Well, which one comes first? Is it the chicken before the egg, or the egg before the chicken?
Very good question.
I mean, we just have to look at it vividly. The government need to play their own role. I mean,
what role should the government be playing? I mean, you talked about reducing of tariffs earlier.
Yeah.
What other incentives would make you, as a car dealer, use the Nigerian seaports?
That's what I'm telling you. There are a lot of unnecessary charges that are there. Aside from this duty, don't forget the fact that there's still terminal charges, shipping companies. Do you understand? Those charges are just too much. And look at the port. Look at the road to the port. Look at, since the creation of the port, it still remains the same. No added facility, no added advantage. The port remains the port.
That's what Wale Adeni is saying.
Look at the road to the
It's
port.
your job to hold those who are responsible, that you should actually hold them responsible. Those who are to ensure the roads to the ports are in good condition, and all of the other facilities within the seaports are, you know, on top of their game to ensure that business is done very easily and swiftly there.
Like one of the correspondents just said now, aside from oil and gas, the port generates one of the highest revenue for the government. I mean, the government just have to live up to their billing. They have to do their work. They have to make the port attractive for us to be able to use. Like I said earlier, we don't have to go to Cotonou or any other neighboring country to clear our cargoes. Let us bring back business back to our ports. But how do you do that?
And bring back the jobs.
Yeah, and bring back the jobs.
About 5,000 jobs have been lost.
As a car dealer, is any prospective buyer that comes to my lot, the first thing is going to ask, is your car Lagos cleared? So I want to be selling Lagos cleared on in my lots. So basically, when you look at it, it's still preferable to do business right here in Nigeria.
Okay, we'll leave it there very quickly. Let's take another break and return with more. Stay with us.
Yeah.
Thanks for staying with us. It is still TVC Breakfast, and we're still talking about the ban on importation of vehicle to Nigerian land borders. We have with us in the studio Adebowale, who is a car dealer and a clearance agent, and we have in our Abuja studio Wale Adeni, who is the public relations officer for the Nigerian Customs. Wale, tell us about the railroad terminals. The seaport operators seem to be rejoicing over that, that with this particular policy, that will bring that terminal back operational and perhaps create more jobs.
The terminal operators are Nigerian interests, of course, and non-Nigerian interests that have invested in the Nigerian economy. They have created jobs, they have provided employment, they've created a number of multiplier effects, you know, in the value chain. So we are not surprised that they will welcome this. It's also going to put a lot of pressure on them, as my friend has talked about, to ensure that they take this as an opportunity, you know, provide modern equipment, provide implements that would facilitate physical examination by customs, possibly take a second look at their charges so that Nigerians will not complain. But then we also have issues with car dealers, because when they complain about the charges in Nigeria, what they do across the borders, you know, is not noble. They go to Cotonou, they pay all the charges. They know they cannot compromise. They take these cars across the borders and then begin to look for corners. I can sit down here and tell you that 80%, if 90% of the vehicles are brought in by car dealers are smuggled. So when they smuggle these cars, it makes the cars coming from the seaports uncompetitive. And this is why we have started the process of visiting them in their car mats and seizing the vehicles and prosecuting them. So in 2017, the game will change. We wouldn't have to begin to pursue people across the border and start maiming officers. We will be ICT driven. We will be more scientific in our operation. And it will mean hell for car dealers who smuggled vehicles. He gave us assurance that
now, Adeni, if I may come in here, you talk about the car dealers. You're putting the blame at the doorstep of the car dealers, saying they actually smuggle their vehicles after paying the required penalties or fines or fees at the neighboring borders. Would that not mean that the customs are not doing their job in such a way that these smugglers don't succeed in bringing vehicles illegally through the borders?
We're not trading blames. 2 months ago, we announced the dismissal of 49 customs officers. 49 customs officers. A good number of these officers were dismissed. They were serving from the ports. Some of them were serving in the border areas. Their careers were terminated because we felt that there is no space for them in the new customs.
All right, let's. Hold on, please, Mr. Adeni. Hold on, we do understand. We understand your point very, very quickly. Debo, would you want to respond to what he said? You're a car dealer. When you go across the borders to bring in your cars from there to Nigeria, you're willing to pay this duties and charges. But when it comes to Nigeria, you're not willing to do that, and yet you smuggle your vehicles in. How would you react to what he just said?
That's not true. I'm not going to agree with him. First of all, how much is the tariff over there? It's extremely cheap. Why are we going there to clear our cars? It's extremely cheap to do business over there, and it's stress-free. And why bringing the cars to Nigeria? We don't fly the cars. We pass through the border. We also pay charges. We also pay duties.
Through the legal borders?
Through the legal borders. Through the legal borders. We drive the car through the legal borders. We pay duties. Legal required duties at the borders. So it's not as if those cars are not duty-paid cars.
But what Wale said now, that perhaps some custom officers might be culpable in this case. They might give you a receipt that may not be the legal or the official receipt.
But that's the responsibility of the government. You don't blame, government have to be responsible to their duties. I mean, they have to be responsible. You don't put your blame on Nigerians. No, don't do that. We have to.
Okay, well, the World Bank says that Nigeria loses about $5 billion on a yearly basis from all kinds of smuggled goods and products. I mean, is that something that Nigeria can afford, especially in this recession times?
Well,
so what do you think is the way forward?
Okay, what we are saying is this. Let the government put a little incentive. Let us revive our ports. Let us make it more attractive. We are Nigerians. We don't want to go to neighboring countries anymore. Make our, what are the countries, the neighboring countries doing that make that?
Tell us, that's what we want to know.
Because the tariffs are very, very cheap. We are bringing a 2016 car and a 1996 car. Guess what? It's the same tariff.
Okay.
It's the same tariff you're going to be paying over there. But you don't do that in Nigeria. The higher the car, the higher tariff you pay.
Okay, so it's your job now to let the government know that this tariff is...
The government is out, they are aware.
What are you doing about it? Beyond just because if you make concerted effort, perhaps the government will listen.
Yeah, because we have another station, Clear for it. We've made our submission to the government severally, and they are aware. One of the reasons why traffic was really diverted to the neighboring country was recently during the 2013 tariff by the past administration. Immediately after that tariff, the 70%, a lot of people moved down to the neighboring countries because it's not possible for people to do business with that kind of high tariff.
Okay, Wale Adeni, it is very clear that we can almost not move forward because it's like a back and forth. The issue here is tariff and the rather uncomfortable way, environment of doing business at the Nigerian seaports. So let me ask you the same question. What is the way forward?
Yeah, Ngozi, I'm interested in the way forward, but we must get the diagnosis right. It is not the tariff. If my friend claims that it is the tariff and they pay the legal tariff at the borders, then there shouldn't be huge differentials in the cost of cars that are cleared from the ports and those from the borders. So it is certainly not the tariff. Our people are not willing to play the game according to the rule at the borders. If you go to federal operations now, 90% of the new cars that are seized are those by car dealers. But that's just by the way. Way forward, I will speak directly to car smugglers that the game is over. There is so much things that we can get from agric. I would encourage them, let us embrace agriculture. I'm also trying to do agriculture on the sideline so that we can increase food production and begin to export what we produce in Nigeria. Secondly, I agree about, to the fact that maybe the tariff can be reviewed. There is nothing cast in stone. Nigerians, citizens, we want the best for our people. So we could make, representation, legal representation to government so that they could review the tariff if tariff is the problem. So all we want Nigerians to know is that the ports are ours, the developments of the ports are ours, so we should do everything together, collaborate together to ensure that Nigerian ports develop and we get the revenue that should accrue from it for the benefit of the Nigerian economy. All right,
we have to say thank you very much, gentlemen, there, but maybe I should just throw this in very quickly before we go. The volume of cars into ports in Nigerian ports in 2014 was 27,000 units in January 2014. It came down to 8,000 in January 2015 and down further to 5,000 in August of 2016. Well, from 400,000 units every year to less than 25%. And so that's the picture. That's what it cost Nigeria to bring in vehicles from across the land borders. And on that note, let's say thank you so much, Wale Adeni, spokesman of the Nigerian Customs, and Debo Oladunjoye, a car dealer and a clearing agent. Thank you so much for your time on the show.
Thank you very much.